This is Leader Time by FedNet, your podcast source for remarks by Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor during the 119th Congress. Returning to Washington for the week's business on May 19th, Thune discussed the Genius Act hours before a second attempt to take up the cryptocurrency regulation bill. The vote succeeded. The following material is protected by copyright.
Mr. President, this evening, we're going to once again vote to begin consideration of the Genius Act. And I'm hoping that the second time will be the charm. We were here 11 days ago, Mr. President, in the same place when Democrats inexplicably chose to block this legislation. The question is why? Well, that's a good question, Mr. President. Stablecoin regulation is a bipartisan issue. This bill reflects the bipartisan consensus on this issue. And it's had an open and bipartisan process since the very beginning. What we used around here to call regular order. In March, the Banking Committee marked up the bill text, considering 40 amendments. And the bill ultimately passed out of the committee by a vote of 18-6 with support from 5 Democrats. And since then, both Republicans and Democrat members have worked to advance this legislation. That is, until a week and a half ago when Democrats suddenly decided to block it just as we were getting ready to have a debate on the floor. Mr. President, the bill brought up a week and a half ago is the exact same bill the Democrats apparently now are willing to move forward on. And then, as now, Republicans were committed to a full debate on the floor with the chance for further bipartisan amendments to the already bipartisan piece of legislation. So it's really hard to understand why we needed to wait an additional 11 days for Democrats to finally agree to move. I'm not sure Democrats wanted to deny Republicans and President Trump a bipartisan legislative victory and then perhaps thought better of their obstruction, or what. But at least we finally seem to be here, Mr. President, ready to take up this bill. Because this is important legislation. The use of cryptocurrency has exploded from the margins to the mainstream, and stablecoins have emerged as a key part of the crypto ecosystem. They offer the speed and security of the blockchain with the stability and usability of the dollar bill. And they provide a business and consumer-friendly way to make payments. But stablecoin issuers and users face challenges. In the United States, stablecoins have operated in a legal gray zone. There are no clear rules of the road to follow. And between that and the Biden administration's targeting crypto companies with numerous lawsuits, many U.S.-based crypto companies have contemplated moving overseas. Not something we want to see if we want the United States to remain at the forefront of financial innovation. Fortunately, the Genius Act addresses these problems by providing a clear regulatory framework for stablecoins, a framework that will protect consumers and our national security while helping to keep the United States at the forefront of financial innovation. The bill will also create demand for the U.S. dollar and U.S. treasuries, a good thing for both our national security and our fiscal house. So this is an important bill, Mr. President, and I'm glad that it looks like we are finally going to be able to take it up. And I hope that in the future, we will be able to take up bipartisan legislation without these unnecessary delays. I want to again thank my colleagues from both parties for their work on this bill. Senators Hagerty, Lummis, and Tim Scott have worked tirelessly with Senators Gillibrand and also Brooks and their members. And they all deserve a ton of credit for listening to their respective sides of the aisle. So, Mr. President, I look forward to beginning the floor debate later today.
Schumer addressed former President Biden's cancer diagnosis, President Trump, semiconductor chips, remaining Israeli hostages held by Hamas in Gaza, and tariffs.
Mr. President, today, our thoughts and prayers are with President Biden and his entire family after his cancer diagnosis this weekend. If there's one thing we all know about President Biden, it's that he's a fighter. All his life, he's faced adversity and tragedy, the worst kind. And each time his response has been the same. He's faced it with grace, with courage. and with the kind of resilience that only can come from God. This is no different. I know President Biden will face this hardship with everything he's got. So today, the entire Senate wishes Joe Biden our very best. We will pray for him, we will root for him, and we know he will bounce back, just as he's done his whole life. Now, on the Qatar plane and the Middle East. Last week, Donald Trump concluded a visit to the Middle East that was a smashing success for his own bottom line, but a dubious outcome for America's economic and security interest. First, on the Qatari plane. Last week, Donald Trump confirmed that he would accept a $400 million luxury Boeing 747 plane offered by Qatar to use as Air Force One, the largest bribe to an American president in modern history. So today, I am introducing the Presidential Airlift Security Act, prohibiting the use of any foreign plane to be utilized as Air Force One. Senate Republicans, who say they're troubled by this Qatari gift, should join me in supporting this very common sense legislation. It should not take an act of Congress to stop the President of the United States from accepting the largest foreign bribe in modern history. But we're dealing with a president who has shown he's perfectly willing to sell out the American people and the presidency to fill his own pockets. Specifically, my legislation would prohibit even a single taxpayer dollar from being used by the Department of Defense to procure, modify, or retrofit any foreign aircraft to be used in transporting a U.S. president. For one, overhauling a foreign luxury plane to serve as Air Force One would cost billions of taxpayer dollars. The refurbishing alone would cost more than the value of the plane itself. And it would take years. It's a senseless waste of taxpayer resources. Using a foreign plane as Air Force One would also bring unimaginable national security risks. National security experts from one end of the country to the other agree. No matter how many modifications are made, or how much is spent, or how intensely it's retrofitted, there will never be 100% confidence that the plane is secure. This is not a gamble anyone should be willing to take. It makes no practical sense for Donald Trump to accept this luxury gift when other alternatives in the works are less risky and less costly for taxpayers. This gift reeks of corruption and naked self-enrichment. It reeks of corruption and naked self-enrichment. And Republicans should stand up and support our bill, defend national security, and protect Americans. In the meantime, I will continue my hold on all political Department of Justice nominees until we get more answers about this clearly unethical deal. Now on the Saudi chip deal. Today I'm joining with Senator Warren to lead Senate Democrats in calling on Secretaries Lutnick and Rubio to hit pause on a number of chip deals Donald Trump announced last week with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. I am alarmed that these deals announced by Donald Trump, which involve the most advanced AI-related semiconductors, have national security threat written all over them. Without clear and enforceable protections, I'm worried that these chips will gradually end up in the hands of the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party, given how cozy the Saudi and Emiratis have been with the Chinese. Recent history shows that when foreign countries end up with American-made chips, the Chinese government, the CCP, and their related companies get a hold of these chips. DeepSeek's AI model was precisely accomplished with U.S.-made chips. Now Donald Trump wants to potentially open up another loophole with his Middle East chip deals. Over the years, Chinese companies and the CCP have forged deep ties with the same Middle Eastern countries that Donald Trump is now giving unfettered access to our most advanced AI chips. No serious national security expert would tell you this is on the level. It not only threatens our security, but also risks cannibalizing the U.S. build-out of AI. If we want to stay number one in AI, which we all do, this is the wrong deal. Why is Donald Trump building the future of AI in the Middle East, not in America? We all know that he's desperate. Trump is desperate to show the world he's Mr. Art of the deal. But he's so desperate to tout these deals that he's not thinking and protecting the long-term security and jobs implications to our country. With this deal, American AI chips are being given to the highest bidder at the expense of the American people and American dominance in the rapidly growing and important field of AI. On the hostages in Gaza, last week we witnessed a moment of hope, the release of American, Israeli, and New Jersey resident Edan Alexander, former New Jersey resident Edan Alexander, who had been held in Hamas captivity for nearly 600 days. But our work is far from over. We must keep fighting for the release of all 58 hostages still being held by Hamas, including the remains of 4 New Yorkers who were brutally murdered: Omer Nutra, Itay Chen, Gad Chagai, and Judy Weinstein. I call on all parties to seize the momentum of Edan's release, to secure a deal, one that secures the release of the remaining hostages, delivers an immediate surge of humanitarian aid and food for innocent Palestinians in Gaza, and moves us toward a durable and lasting security peace in the region. As negotiations continue, I urge both the Israeli government and the Trump administration to do everything possible to ensure full access to life-saving aid, shelter, and essential services for all innocent civilians in Gaza. On tariffs. Last week, Walmart announced that soon it will raise prices on its products nationwide. Then, over the weekend, Donald Trump, who started this stupid trade war to begin with, tried to bully and harass Walmart for having the gall of being transparent about the decision, for having the gall to show that prices are going up because of Donald Trump's tariffs. Then today, CEO of J.P. Morgan, Jamie Dimon, warned the impact of tariffs have not yet passed through the broader economy. Even Donald Trump's scaled-back tariffs are, quote, pretty extreme, unquote, in Dimon's words. So Donald Trump can try to blame businesses when they're forced to raise prices, but he can't escape the economic realities of his own trade war. He made this mess. He's sending prices up. He will bear the responsibility. Donald Trump will. Finally, it's pretty rich for Donald Trump to tell retailers that they have to, quote, eat the tariffs, but meanwhile he's accepting luxury planes and crypto deals in the Middle East. Donald Trump does far more to help himself than to help America. On the tax scam. On Friday, Moody's Ratings downgraded the U.S. government's credit rating, citing rising fiscal deficits, soaring interest costs, and fears that Republicans are about to make things worse. You'd think Moody's announcement would be a wake-up call to the so-called party of responsibility, of fiscal responsibility, to stop their multi-trillion-dollar giveaway to the ultra-rich. But nope. Last night, Republicans cleared another hurdle to pass their billionaire boondoggle, one that adds trillions to the national debt. Republicans have forfeited any credibility when it comes to complaining about government waste. They are now the undisputed kings of reckless spending, and their big, beautiful bill is their crown jewel. Permanently extending these billionaire tax giveaways could add as much as $50 trillion to the national debt in the next 30 years. $50 trillion. And no matter what Republicans say, these tax breaks are not going to pay for themselves. The last Trump tax cuts certainly didn't. Why will these be any different, particularly given the economic chaos Donald Trump has created with tariffs? Americans have to be wondering, what are we getting in return for this fiscal time bomb? The answer is this: more tax breaks for those at the top. That's it. Those at the bottom, meanwhile, are getting ripped off. A study from Wharton released on Friday found that many Americans making less than $51,000 a year would lose after-tax income under the Republican proposal. You heard that right. Many making less than $51,000, that's a lot of Americans, would see their incomes go down. Future generations, meanwhile, will be condemned to a lifetime of higher borrowing costs, incurable inflation, and diminished economic potential. This is the entire goal behind the Republican so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Help the ultra-rich today, screw the middle class tomorrow. That's not beautiful. That's ugly.
This program is copyrighted by Federal Network, Incorporated, and provided only for informational and educational purposes. Unauthorized reproduction, distribution, or use of this episode without expressed written permission from FedNet is prohibited. Thanks for listening to this FedNet podcast. You can watch live action from Congress on our YouTube channel at FedNet TV.